The lower 3 and 4 for the TE users. Now we touched on TE for ENFP and ESFP. I think I validated that pretty good. If you haven't seen that, check out the previous TE video talking about that hedonistic tendency. Welcome to the channel. If you're unfamiliar with Myers-Briggs and personality types, cognitive stacks and all that, then this is not the descriptive video to explain that. This is talking a little more on the advanced side for what extroverted thinking is, specifically for those who have requested for the fourth function, which is aspirational/inferior, and acknowledging again the child function for TE. And yes, I'm deadly tired. Speaking of children, I've been playing with my children all day, and I'm just exhausted, you know? But I want to acknowledge this before I go to bed. The TE child is the tantrum function. It basically says, I need to feel productive, I need to do things, and I'm going to do anything I can to get pleasure to do that. So ESFPs and ENFPs are extremely prone to caffeine, quick pleasures, a hedonistic tendency. ENFPs, as I mentioned before, have a way more proclivity to be overweight because they don't see the need to be in the physical form as much because their value is in the abstract. That's where the NE dominant comes in, the dot connector function. Another video on that. The SE dominant for the ESFP mixed with the FI parent, which the ENFP also shares. This creates this prideful function. So I need to care what it looks like. Are my guitars good in the background? Is this good? Is my hair wild enough to get attention? Is my tone good? I realize what I'm wearing. Are my army pants kind of cool? I'm matching, but I'm also chaotic. So this ESFP twist is different than the ENFP twist. But again, we're going to be focusing on the lower function of TE, which as you guys have requested, this would be of course the opposite, meaning FI dominant, INFP and ISFP. They come across differently. Remember, the ISFP is the closest related to me, is what you see here is a very extroverted version of that, moving around a little bit faster pace and very skittish, very sharp, very quick with our movements. That is more on the shallow way of looking at something, a lot more profound. There's a lot more depth into what that is. It doesn't mean that an intuitive can't be movement fast. Again, I'm tired, so give me a break, freaking thinker types. You guys can be so mean sometimes. But anyway, so have mercy. Some of you are pretty nice, some of you are pretty cool, and you understand. That's a maturity thing. But the point is, INFPs move slower because there's more going on in here. ISFPs are very skittish and aware of what's happening out here because they're SE users, and INFPs are also NE users, similar to how the introverted version of the ENFP is. However, this lower TE placement creates this desire for perfection. Ooh, the lowest of the low. Remember, the ESFP and the ENFP will do something as long as it just get the freaking thing done, right? There's this tendency to not be as perfectionistic because we want it to we want the pleasure of getting it done. And you know what? 80-20 rule, right? 80% good enough, it's good enough. Only 20% of the population would know if my song wasn't perfect, for example, or if the voiceover I did for the audiobook, you know, I didn't hit that accent or dialect just right when I was using that voice. You know, if it was slightly Cockney versus it was slightly Manchester, you see the difference. I'm hitting my T's versus I'm Cockney. I'm going to be Cockney and I'm not going to hit the T's. I'm not going to hit the T's is what, you see that? You see I can be really like, I'll just get it done. Flip the freaking page. But an INFP and an ISFP, they'd be way less likely to do something like that, if at all, because they're introverts on top of that. So their showman side is very much more on the ISFP side rather than the INFP. INFPs are more like the writers because it's so safe to write books and express how you feel. The question for the INFP is, are they actually going to get that stinking frickin' book published? Because I'm on the other side as the ESFP being your voice for your books, for your narrations. And if you're not finishing that stuff, INFPs, you know who I'm talking about. My authors in the background who are just, you know, I'm waiting for your final draft, bro. Anyway, that draft never comes. It's never come because every time I get a new one, you're like, just scrap it, move on to the next book. That is TE inferior aspirational. Now I say inferior and aspirational because it gives you the most pleasure, ISF and INFPs, finishing things, getting it done. Brings you so much pleasure. And when you do finish things, it is huge. It is so big because it's so rare when you do finish something. My mic is still on. Hello? Check. Can you guys hear that? Anyway, for someone who's a childish TE user, I will childishly say, hey, just get it done, like 80-20. But to an INFP or even an ISFP, ISFPs are way more likely to do, you know, those things more frequently because they have that sensory nature to like, they get more frustrated. But an INFP doesn't seem to, and please feel free to explain this to me, because my older brother is also INFP, and he did not take pride in finishing things. He took pride in the time it took, it seemed, to create something. Like he enjoyed the process. Intuitive nature of putting things together with the NE parent mixed with how he felt about it that particular day. That's the FI dominance with that. And if it ever got finished, he has deliberately told me, and many INFPs here have told me, that the perfectionism side is a struggle, but again, it doesn't matter if it gets done. It matters if you felt good while making it. That's the sad nature of what the other personality types have to deal with somebody who is relying upon a TE inferior user. Because frankly, that's extremely selfish. If you have all that talent and you don't finish something, I have made many videos for you INFPs. So if you're thinking, hey, I need more INFP content, go check out my YouTube channel. I'm gonna cry on you and that stuff. Remember, my older brother, the one I've looked up to for so long in my life. It's there. Okay, check it out, whatever. But I've got an ISFP cousin. The guy's a flake. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say names. Dude never joins in the group chats. Dude is completely introverted and yet the most prideful out of all of us and the most skittish. If you say one thing that is off, he will never talk to you again. He's extremely aware of who's around him. And the things that he does seems to be, with TE in mind here, where somebody else gives him the idea. It's like ISFPs don't come up with their own freaking ideas, it would seem. But how is that possible when like a lot of them are lead singers and yet they hide? So it's really frustrating for somebody who's an ESFP. And I'm like, I'm also a lead singer, like bringing in the singing vibe, the performance vibe, the hey, look at me, the SE users mixed with FI, how do I feel versus what I'm wearing versus how am I performing. And ISFPs have an introverted version of that, and their TE is like shoved down here. So I'm just like, hey, that was a good enough performance, how did I do? You know, I'm worried about my performance, but theirs is like so detrimental if they miss the note or if they, you know, they're slightly off pitch. I mean, again, I'm tired. But the point is the ISFPs are so perfectionistic and hard on themselves that it can come across as very standoffish. And as I mentioned before, it can come across as selfish, flaky, finicky, fast-paced, twitchy, get the frick out, go adventure and do your hikes, ISFPs. Like, seriously, go do your thing, because you need that introverted time to reset. All introverts need that. But ISFPs, man, you guys will eat yourself alive. And INFPs, gosh, to have you finish anything is the most pleasurable thing for you. So why don't you do it more often? Because it's not perfect. Perfection, like, is that really a thing? Can we have some mature comments in here saying their opinions on perfection? Because that's immature. It's immature. Do you think you were fully ready for anything before you did it? Like, give me an example when you were fully ready to do anything. There's an old quote, an old axiom. I left on a mission. I was a missionary at one point when I left my congregation to go out into I served in Oklahoma, and I don't know where this quote came from. Check this out. The one who waits to decide never decides. It means there is no such thing as perfection in this plane. A missionary, a person that comes from a spiritual type of background, is telling you that perfection is not achievable here on this plane. Now think of that, okay? Perfectionists, this is so close to that should actually bring you a lot of comfort, especially somebody who's a TE child like myself. Somebody who's like, just, you know, get it done vibe. That's the kind of person you frankly need to be around. If you're an ISFP or an INFP, go find yourself an ESFP or an ENFP, because we are the extroverted version of you. And if we can do those things, that means you can too. And we should help boost your confidence spiked high. I know INFPs who hang out with ENFPs just for that alone. And ISFPs, stop being so skittish and stop being so afraid. You guys seem to have the lowest self-esteem. What the heck? And ESFPs, take our pride, you know, take our nature that you need that. So we balance each other out. But I don't think we can stand each other for very long, because we would compete. That's a whole different thing, because our TEs would clash. So when we're talking about the lower 3 and 4 TE users, but they're still in the upper 4 stack, meaning all 4 of us, because we're all FI users with our TEs, right? See how TE is the opposite, literally the opposite. Thinking versus feeling, extroverted versus introverted, TE versus FI. All 4 of us are the users of both. We round each other out, and I'm gonna slap you if you don't finish your stuff, if you don't have the confidence. INFP, then ISFP in that regard. Go find the extroverted version of you. They'll pull your head out of your butt and get you to finish that massive project that you've been waiting to do your entire life, because you have no idea the pleasure that will bring you. You just don't know. You don't know. How do you not know if something you've never tried? You never tried it. You never finished it. How many videos do I have to make for you guys? The world would be such a better place, and you would be so much better off having that weight lifted. Something that is creative and unused creates depression, and it will wear on you the rest of your life. Trust me. Trust me. I've got 26 albums unfinished, but I'm cranking through them as fast as I can these days, because I'm a dad of 2. Life is moving faster. It compounds in speed. Days move faster the older you get. You think you've got time. You really don't. Get it done. Use your TE to do it. Extroverted Thinking. I'm Eric Osmond. Have a great night. I love you, and you got this. Send it to somebody who may need a kick in the pants.